The sidestepper-in-chief was busy last night. Kamala Harris dodging like crazy on her radical record, spewing out canned, rehearsed lines and polished talking points. And, of course, the liberal media was lapping it up. Watch this.
She whooped him. She just whooped him. She baited him, and then she spanked him. She baited him, and then she spanked him.
Donald Trump got destroyed in this debate because he can't control his mind.
Kamala Harris was superb. She was elegant. She was classy.
She was relentless in her prosecution of Donald Trump.
I've never seen a starker contrast in presentation from two candidates in any debate.
That was almost like elder abuse.
There was a booty whooping. Clearly, Vice President Harris kicked some butt.
Okay, Jesse, I'll start with you. It's interesting. Reuters comes out, and 6 out of the 10, they say, are going Trump's way. 3 out of 10 of the undecideds are going her way. So if it was so great and if he whooped her, why are the numbers still in Trump's favor?
So we're saying Harold's wrong, and I would agree that Harold is wrong again.
Yes.
Because we get paid to analyze this, and we see this as a performance. We see this as a performance like we're performing now, like on cable. You're trying to win arguments. You're trying to land shots concisely with a little flair. Yes, she had Trump on the defensive a lot of the time. Yes, Trump snapped a couple times. But that's not what the regular voter cares about. That's what MSNBC cares about. That's what Kamala's handlers might care about, because when he's snapping and freaking out about crowd size, she doesn't have to talk about taking away people's guns or banning fracking. Everybody knows at the end of this debate what Donald Trump stands for. Even people who don't follow politics, they know he stands for cutting taxes, regulations, securing the border, and bringing peace. No one knows still, after a convention, a CNN interview, and this 90-minute debate with 67 million people watching, what she stands for. Well, a restaurant owner friend of mine says the customer always remembers dessert. They always remember the last thing you eat. And last night, he closed with his probably strongest argument. You've been there 3.5 years, making a lot of promises. Why haven't you done it already? That's what people will remember if they stayed up till 10:45.
Which isn't so late, Jesse,
Not late,
honestly.
maybe just for me.
All right. You know what, Dana? For the past 3.5 years, we've talked about our word salads. We've talked about the people who have left her office. We've talked about the resets. We talked about, did we lower the bar so that when she came across as articulate, everybody's like, oh, she should run to be president?
Well, the night before the debate on this show, Jesse said, wait, you guys, we are lowering the bar too much. She's going to do great. And I remember you said, she'll be prepared. And I think that 5 days in a hotel room without a kitchen to use your spices is a long time to be prepping for a debate. But look, it worked for her. And she talked to 67 million people last night. They might not go in her favor. They might not decide to vote for her, but she didn't collapse. And that was what the worry was with the Democrats, right? They were holding their breath going, oh my gosh, is this a bad idea that they've not let her do any other media interviews? She's not done anything. She does the debate. She gets through it without a collapse. She was a competitor, and she lives to fight another day. And here's the other thing. They've got a major cash advantage. And I don't know if Harold probably has more insight into this, but I bet that they raised a lot of money today. So the media had lowered the bar. Her team had smartly lowered the bar. And Trump's out there doing a ton of interviews. He did miss opportunities. I just want to mention one other thing, though. The reason that Kamala Harris keeps bringing up Project 2025 is because it is working in her favor. Mm-hmm. Right. And I know that Trump is disavowed it. I know he's distanced himself from it. I think that they have to do something more. Because in that New York Times poll from last weekend, which was not good for Harris, there was one nugget in there that was good for them, and it was that issue. Because something like 70% of voters had heard about it. That was kind of shocking. They'd heard about that, and they had a negative view of it. So that's why they keep bringing it up, even though nobody could actually tell you what's in it.
You know, what's interesting, Harold, about 2025 is that Trump said, I wasn't a part of it. I haven't even read the thing. I want nothing to do with it. He tried to distance himself. I mean, at least he answered the question. He explained. She doesn't answer anything, and she gets the benefit of the doubt.
Well, you're likely more right than wrong, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Republicans have criticized Tim Walz for some of his positions over the years, and it's fair game because he's on the VP ticket. Project 2025, J.D. Vance wrote the foreword for it. So when Democrats point that out, although President Trump has not endorsed it, if it's fair to attack Governor Walz and attack Vice President Harris, then why isn't it fair to suggest that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump? But let's think on that one for a moment. If you listen to us around the table, you listen to some in the media over the last few months describe Kamala Harris, and you watched the debate last night, it was a very different person how people have described her. She came across, whether you like her policies, and I think we need more information on that, Jesse, I would agree with you, but she came across calm and presidential last night. You may not like what she wants to do, but this idea that she's dumb and she's stupid, I think I've heard President Trump use the word stupid sometimes. She didn't appear that way. I never thought she was that, but if you were watching the debate and watching her for the first time, she didn't appear that way. I think as we think about this over the next several days, I think the polling in the 7 key states, and I would add North Carolina to that now, we'll get a chance to see if there was any movement. I don't think there will be a lot of movement, but most people get a little bounce out of the polls if they perform well. And now both sides have said they won. I happen to think Vice President Harris won the debate. Finally, I don't know what either of them, frankly, would do, Jesse, on a lot of things. I know what President Trump did, but they both. And she appeared calm and didn't have to answer as many questions as I wanted her to answer on substance. And he just he got literally baited into every bad decision one could make in a debate. Finally, if you believe, and some people do, I've read in social media and some around the table are suggesting that the debate was designed to help her. This is a debate. And if you believe that the questioners are not asking the right questions, as the person in that room, you have a responsibility, and it's on you to raise those issues. And he didn't do that. So if I'm him, I'm absolutely going to ask for a second debate to be able to do some of the things that you guys are brilliantly talking about around the table. But I think you have to honestly say he didn't do.
So, Greg, are you supposed to, as the person debating, call out the moderators and then correct them and then try to get your own information out when they're pushing all this crazy stuff?
Yeah, the idea that, Trump should have controlled himself better. How do you control anything in a choreographed mugging? The goal here, and everybody's talking about his temperament, the whole goal, the direction of this debate was about Trump's temperament. It was orchestrated as an ambush to create the desired anger. It's like saying, look how wet the witch got as you dunk her in water. They targeted him from all sides, and they baited him. And at a certain point, it took 15, 20 minutes before finally he had enough. And this was all about triage. Kamala needed help. She needed reconstructive surgery, but it was done on Trump to make him look ugly and make her look better. I did not see her in the debate. I saw the moderators, the structure, the choreography, the setup. Yeah, she was calm. You'd be calm, too, if you were in a self-driving car, because she certainly wasn't driving that car. Other people were doing it for you. And to be happy that she won, that's like saying, my kid, he plays soccer, but he's exempt from the rules. It's like he scored 4 goals. Yeah, but he's allowed to use his hands. You have a pathetic child. She's a pathetic child.
Greg, it's like Harold Ford Jr.
Yeah.
He gets ganged up on every show.
Yes.
Do I complain?
And he is composed, and he's calm. And sometimes people think Trump should be that way because he knows what's happening at 5 o'clock every single time. It's an ambush.
It's 4-1.
No, it's not. No, we all love you, Harold. It's not 4-1. You know that.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.